Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from our very own subreddit r/Mark Narrations. Always feel free to post your own stories over there if you feel like it, of course. And this story comes from Abandoned Daughter 30. They said, am I the arsehole if I told my biofather to duck off because of the last encounter we had? Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I, 30 female, was recently contacted by my biofather, asking that we met up after being no contact for 6 years. Last time I saw my sperm donor, SD, we had a very explosive interaction, and he had said several things that made me go no contact with him. I'd blocked him entirely, and I had not had contact since that day. Until a couple of days ago, I got a text from an unfamiliar number, and because of the way it was typed, it only read as, "Hey there OP, it was my sperm donor," explaining that it's been several years and we left things in a bad way, and that he would like to meet up and talk. I haven't replied. I asked my parents, mum and stepdad, and they said it's up to me. My mother has never tried to stop me from having a relationship with my sperm donor or half-siblings through him. I'm my sperm donor's middle child and his only daughter. I asked my friends and they're split on the whole thing, so I've come for unbiased opinions. When I last saw him in 2018, he asked me to go out to lunch and I decided to be nice and go. He's had a history of making plans with me and flaking. I would move plans around just for him to not show up. During our meal, he kept making small talk and would ask about things about me like he did back when I was growing up. Some of the questions he was asking were get to know you questions. What are your favorite books? What music are you into, etc. Honestly, I think he only half paid attention during those visits when I was growing up. I got frustrated with him and called him out for how crappy he was to me, but how much he did for his sons. He pretty much ended up telling me he wished I never existed. I blocked him that day, but the things he said put me in a poor mental health state for a bit. Part of me wants to tell him to shove it and keep living my life, but there's still a part of me that wants to hear him apologize for the things he said and possibly apologize for being a crap father. It's one of those situations where, you have to do what you want to do. Like when I'm reading your story and you said, how he's put you in a poor mental health state in the past, I think, is it worth it for you? Would it really be beneficial to meet up with this guy? Thinking about what he's done to you in the past, what can he actually bring to your life now? There's just a potential there for him to do more damage to you. And personally, I wouldn't want to see that for you. And I don't think he can offer too much to you by the sounds of it from what you've explained in your story. And what he said was absolutely disgusting. And of course, it's going to put you in a poor mental health space. It blows my mind that someone thinks that's acceptable to say to their child, slap that guy outside the head, honestly. But the first commenter said to OP, you don't owe him anything. Ignore him. He'll probably want something off you. They always do. Infinite Light, she says, I already hear Mark asking, what benefit would bringing him back into your life give you? You know me too well. You know him best. Is there an explanation that can make you forgive him? I would tell him your past relationship has been unhealthy to you. If he wishes to build something, tell him you're willing to meet with him under the supervision of a certified therapist that you pick and he pays for. Additionally, he would have to go to individual counseling as well. I would say 6 months before you'll be willing to explore going the next step. I have a feeling he will worm out of it. If he does, you can be certain he isn't willing to actually put effort into a relationship with you. You'll know with certainty no contact is best. If he's actually willing to do counseling with you and by himself, it may grow into something. It may be worth pursuing. But again, you know best. Vast Consideration says your sperm donor said he wished you weren't born. Listen, life's too short for this bullshit. Fuck him. It is his loss. Go live your best life and cut him off completely. Sometimes the best thing you can do is build a support system that does not include blood relations. I would go as far as to publicly shame him by controlling the narrative and writing out your history and how he expressed his real feelings. End it with, he is dead to me. Do not try to convince me otherwise. I have no father. Please respect that. Make sure he is blocked and anyone who fights you on it, block. You know he's going to tell a story making you the villain, so you might as well tell your side. You are not the problem. There is nothing wrong with you. Go live your best life. Virtual hugs your way. And one more commenter who says, "You don't owe him anything. Please do what's right for you and don't even think about him. I have a strained relationship with my father. And after he wrote to me last November with proclamations of how sorry he was for what he did, according to my bro, he doesn't know what he did. I've been an anxious mess. I was at a good point where I was okay hearing from him occasionally and happy to be courteous. Now I just feel guilty for not responding to his letter, despite how often my mum and stepdad and friends tell me he doesn't deserve my response, and it will just make me miserable. Trust me, just cut the ties. Block him and walk away, because every time he shows up, he'll drag every awful feeling you ever had back up to the surface." And I think that's just such a good comment as well, and it comes from experience. Reading OP's post and the way that they was hurt by in the past by this person, I just don't think it'd do anything beneficial to meet up with this person. But OP came in with their first update and said, "I think about a month or so ago, I reached out through this sub and got some helpful advice about how to deal with my biofather, aka sperm donor, after years of being no contact. The original post is on my profile if you want to read that. In the previous post, I left out a lot of the greater detail I share below, as it wasn't all needed at the time. I was in a bit of a panic of what is about to follow in terms of how sperm donor treated me. It's not going to make him any better in the eyes of you fellow Reddit users, either way, but you should have some additional context for the update. In my original post, I mentioned how sperm donor had no regard for me. I would spend so much time waiting for him, moving plans for him, and missing time with my friends just for him to not show up or to show up late. A few examples. During one of our normal visitation weekends, he said he wasn't coming because there was a work event he needed to attend. My grandmother caught him out at the mall with his wife. My 18th birthday, at sperm donor's insistence, I moved my plans just for him to not show up and leave me at home all night. Everyone else changed their plans because I'd asked them to, and then I got screwed over twice, as he said he'd come for breakfast the following morning. Guess what he didn't do? There weren't even good reasons that he was late. He was just hanging out with his buddies, and then the following morning, he was too hungover. My high school graduation, they gave us a limited number of tickets. 4. My grandparents wanted to be there, but one of them would have to sit out if he was coming. So they both stayed home. I gave one to sperm donor and the other to a friend who needed it. Sperm donor never showed or called that night. That was the absolute last instance in which I stopped doing things on his time. I could list more, but you'll get the gist of it. Thinking back now, if I thought he didn't try before, he really didn't try the older I got. After I left for college, he would text once every few months and the conversations would go nowhere. Example, sperm donor would say hello and I would say, "Hey, what's up?" Sperm donor would say, "Nothing much, how are you?" OP would say, "I'm alright, you?" And then crickets. This man put in no effort, and thinking back, I started to give back what I got after a while. So I have 2 half-brothers through sperm donor. All 3 of us have different mothers. Myself and the younger brother, Dale, are only 5 months apart in age. My older brother, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers fan or something, is almost 2 years older than me. Before I launch into this, I want to explain a couple of things first. The visitation arrangements that sperm donor had with us alternated weekends. He would have them on one weekend, he did not have me. When sperm donor and I fell out, I didn't involve my brothers, as I knew that the way they treated them versus me had nothing to do with them. They're also grown men and can make their own decisions. I have a good relationship with my brothers that we managed to build over the years without our sperm donor involved outside of bringing us together when we were teens. We're not crazy close or anything, but we're good enough to interact and chat and know some details about each other's lives. Now on to the meat and potatoes. Chip got engaged at the beginning of the summer, and they've started to make plans for their special day. So to that one commenter on my original post, you was damn close about there being a wedding involved. It's just not sperm donor getting married. At least he doesn't want an organ. Lol. During a spike call this past weekend, with my brother's Chip was talking about the wedding and that he wanted us both to be involved. I tried to politely decline, saying that'd be best if I stayed out of it, but wished them well. When Chip asked why, I said that sperm donor and I are not on good terms and I'd rather not bring drama to their day. I don't trust myself around him. I'll curse him to hell, and I know from the last time he contacted me that if we're both at the wedding, he'll insist we talk. Chip and Dale both said something akin to, I should let go of this petty grudge for something from X amount of years ago, that I'm not a little kid anymore and need to be an adult. This both confused and pissed me off so much I let them have it. I told them the nasty things he said about me and my mother, and that he wished I never existed. Neither of them were aware that our relationship was this bad and were in complete disbelief. Y'all, I set the record straight from all the lies sperm donor has told them, even sending a few screenshots from messages in the past as proof. So instead of talking about the wedding, I filled in the gaps and holes. I found out sperm donor has been playing the victim, making it seem like he tried everything to better our relationship, but that my mother would poison me against him. That she was the reason me and the boys never met sooner. He would also tell them that I'm difficult or that my mother was super strict about the visitation agreement, that I hated his wife at the time. The only thing my mother was strict about was not wanting me to spend nights over his house when visitation visits started, because he and his wife at the time were total strangers to me. Explained that from the minute I knew about them, I wanted to meet them, that my mother wanted me to meet them and get to know them. There was always an open invitation for them to come to my birthday parties if sperm donor would either bring them or pass along the contact info to their mothers. Sperm donor would tell me I would meet them when he and I had a better father-daughter relationship. This upset my brothers a lot and they apologized so much for thinking I was the issue. Someone said he would try to make me the bad guy or the villain or whatever. Since he has, I may as well assume the role. Part of me feels bad for exposing sperm donor to my brothers. It's like when you tell your younger siblings Santa isn't real kind of feeling. I know they look up to him to some degree, especially Chip, as sperm donor made it seem like he was this great stand-up guy and everyone else was the issue. I was told to leave it alone and just move on, and I was prepared to do so. But knowing all that I do now, I'm livid. He's going to find out just how much of his daughter I am if I hear from him again. I'm not holding back. I'm not going to be polite anymore or take the high road or be sensible about this. I'm angry and tired of pretending I'm not. Hope he came in with a mini update and says, "Y'all are great and freaking hilarious, and a lot of your comments made me smile. No, it does not make you a bad person if you're here to watch me metaphorically set things on fire for this piece of shit. It's gonna happen, just a matter of time. There are a few things I want to address from things I saw in the comments before I go into the mini update. My brother's names are not Chip and Dale, lol, fake names. To the commenter who suggested a billboard, that's a different level of diabolical, and I like the way you think. Please save me some popcorn. I like it with extra butter. The role that I'm being offered in the wedding is a bridesmaid. For the sake of ease, I'm just going to call my brother's fiancée SIL. SIL has her siblings in the wedding party and wanted my brother to have the chance as well. I'm going to turn down that role due to logistics. We live in different states and I don't think I'll be able to do everything that may be asked of me. I know weddings can be pretty busy and nuts. That being said, I prefer to keep this drama out of my brother's wedding. It's their day. I don't want to be that arsehole. In regards to the relationship that brothers and me have, it is what it is now. We put in the work and we've got something good going. Part of the reason that I think they never thought more of it back then is because we were teenagers. We were worried about other things like teenagers are. I've given them my side of the story with some proof to remove this lie that sperm donor built. They now know that's enough for me in relation to them. Now the part you really came for, the update. Last night sperm donor called and went off, screaming so loud I had to pull my phone away from my ear. He was cursing me out for putting his crap out there. I haven't put it out there, yet. He called me childish and petty for telling his children about the things that took place between just us, as if he wasn't dragging mine and my mother's names through the mud. I'm sorry, sir, all I did was tell the truth. It took everything in me to not match his energy in that very moment. To just blow it up right then and there. Nope, we're sorry, the caller you were trying to access does not exist, and hung up. I already gave him a chance to have a civil conversation. He rejected that. I also gave him a chance to write it out, and he rejected that. Peace is no longer on the table. I'm going to play the long game to make sure that when I do expose everything, it's solid. After the call, I reached out to Chip and found out what set sperm donor off. So after we had our chat over the weekend, Chip took some time to think. He talked to sperm donor Tuesday evening, and when he did, Chip decided to give sperm donor some ground rules about the events leading up to the wedding and the wedding. I didn't even get the chance to talk to Chip to ask this of him as someone had suggested. Well, sperm donor got pissy about it because, and I quote, "I'll be damned if my fucking kids tell me what the hell I can and can't do," according to my brother. So with everything that has transpired in the short span of time, Chip has decided to 1. Go no contact for a little while to let sperm donor cool off. 2. Consider disinviting him from the wedding entirely if an agreement can't be reached. So that's where things stand for the time being. Nothing to do really, but wait and carefully plan. Thank all you lovely people that commented and gave advice, and even those of you just looking for another shitty parent to get what's been coming to them. I will admit, getting this out there and off my chest has been really good. So, until next time. Edit, 10th of the 3rd, Dale is now low contact. So OP came in with another update and said, I hope you all enjoyed the holiday weekend and ready for the post-holiday tea, because I got a lot. I've actually been trying to update you all for over a month, and life happens, so this update is multiple parts condensed into one big one. I put breaks in to show where I'd started an update. I wrote some on my PC and some on my phone, so I'm sorry if the formats are weird or grammar errors. I will say being able to come here has been amazing, especially because you're all petty. And I know if I went to therapy, I'd be told to take the high road and make peace, yada yada. Quick recap. Biofather reached out to try and fix things ahead of my older half-brother's wedding, but that didn't end well. It ended up opening a whole other can of worms, in which I found out he's been spreading lies to his other children, telling them all crazy things. I straightened things out with proof and exposed him to his children, and they're disappointed and disgusted. We all went no contact at the beginning of October because of how he was speaking to us. Wedding planning is going well. I will be in the wedding party. Sister-in-law has been amazing with including me and giving me as much notice as she could to help me feel included. I live in a different state from the couple. I've been able to video call where needed and kept up to date with emails and group chat. What's an acceptable amount of money to give as a gift to the couple? So after my last post, you all told me to quietly gather my evidence and destroy my sperm donor's life after my brother Dale's wedding in June next year. So that's what I've been doing. I've been gathering everything, and I know and have and could get back. There's only so much I'm able to gather on my own. But I do have the most recent messages and found the screenshots from when we had our original fallout. I mean, that alone should be enough to ruin him, right? I just got the best dirt ever. I was out with my mother at farmer's market, craft fair kind of thing, and while wandering around, she ran into an old friend. This friend was around during the time that my mother and sperm donor were together, and she got pregnant with me. They started playing catch-up, so I stayed within earshot to listen just in case. Well, turns out the friend had come up for a visit for some family he had in the area, and decided to visit some other friends and family in the area. This included sperm donor, who my mother has not spoken to since. He and I had a falling out 6 years ago. Friend shared that while talking to sperm donor, the piece of shit confessed that he was not happy in his marriage, that he wished he could have had my mother instead, and that he still loved her 30 years later. For those of you that are new to this train wreck, sperm donor cheated on my mother while she was pregnant with me, resulting in a younger half-brother, only a few months younger than me. Now, from what I know and remember growing up, sperm donor married first wife, FW, when I was around 9 or 10 years old. I did not go to the wedding. I hardly knew these people at the time. They'd been dating for years. They divorced when I was in college, 18 or 19, as there was infidelity on both sides. It was a whole mess, as when sperm donor's mother died, he had his soon-to-be ex-wife and affair partner at the funeral service. Sperm donor married the affair partner, and she is now second wife, SW. Learning this information about sperm donor and his marriage tickled me, because now more things make sense. I wasn't invited to their wedding either, as they got married around the time I graduated. I'm thinking that may have been done deliberately now. If what this friend is saying about the marriage is to be believed, I could see why I would be kept out, and my brothers somewhat welcomed, as they had chances to visit sperm donor over the weekend. I'm treated like a red-headed stepchild. I remember my mother went with me to the funeral, and for friends of sperm donor that came to pay respects, a few of them recognized my mum. Conversation started and I heard someone say, there is no way he could have ever denied that girl is his. She looks just like him. So people knew/know. This just makes it easier, I think. Some people know he's a piece of shit. I'm just going to give them the full list of his misdeeds and probably, like what I did with my brothers, expose the truth. So as OP said, this is like a series of mini kind of updates all rolled into one over some time by the sounds of it, because the next little part said, second wife emailed me. Mini heart attack during my lunch break as I was checking emails and found one from second wife. I do not have contact with this woman. In fact, I have never met her and only know her by name. I was frantic for a few hours, but I figured out how she got my email. Before your panic, no one sold me out on purpose. Sister-in-law sent an email to everyone in the wedding party and to the parents, and second wife pulled it from there. As of right now, they're going to plan the wedding like sperm donor is still coming and should pull himself together. Forgot to mention, we all blocked sperm donor for pretty much the month of October. The boys did it as more of a cool off period. I still have him blocked since he doesn't know how to talk to me without screaming. So the boys unblocked him, but they have not reached out to him. They were waiting to see if he reached out first. Now, this email. It was to invite all of us to Thanksgiving at their house 3 weeks from now. Had a sidebar with Chip, Dale, and sister-in-law. The couple already has plans to join her family for Thanksgiving this year and weren't changing last minute. Dale said he would go if I do. Now, after my original post, I've given up any hope of sperm donor ever apologizing to me. I know I'm not going to get it. I've made my peace with it, but he tried to make me and my mother look like villains, and it's time someone take him down a notch or two. The next little updatey bit says, warning, I've been drinking, so this is what it is and I'm doing my best to keep it all straight. So as I said, I was invited to dinner by second wife for the holiday, and Dale also went. I live a 2-hour drive from sperm donor. Dale lives closer, like under an hour drive. Chip and sister-in-law live a 3-hour plane ride away. I drove to sperm donor's area and got a hotel room for a couple of nights. Wanted to make sure I had a backup plan. I took a ride share from the hotel to his place for dinner as I started drinking because there was no way in hell I was doing this sober. I got to sperm donor's house and a woman I've never met opened the door. Turns out this woman is second wife's sister and she was there with her husband. I'm going to call them aunt and uncle and their 2 kids. Second wife's son was as well, and of course Dale and now myself. By the time I got there, everyone else was settled. They were going to sit down at 4 for dinner. I got there around 3:30. I got in and made my hellos to everyone, we did introductions, and I even managed to bring some dessert. I had backup food in my hotel, as I don't know how these people cook, and you can't eat everywhere. So while waiting for the last items to finish heating up, the usual questions start getting asked, like work, vacation, hobbies. Well, the uncle and I share a hobby in common and started talking about it. Truly enjoying the conversation because truthfully, he looked bored up to that point. Aunt would draw him into the conversation, but I think it was about getting ready for Christmas, which he didn't have an interest in. Well, this didn't set well with Aunt, as she was just glaring daggers at me, as if talking to her husband was a crime. Sperm donor barely spoke to me, besides once again the basic ask get to know you questions. I mean, the cat is out of the bag, his sons know he's a piece of shit, so why bother trying? They all looked uncomfortable watching the interaction and apologized for never knowing until now. I pretty much got iced out during dinner conversation and let it happen. I picked at the food and kept drinking. I don't drink wine, but since it was Thanksgiving, they had some, so I drank what was offered on top of spiking my personal cup of the punch that was made with the vodka I had hidden in my purse. We finished eating the main meal and started cleaning up. Sperm donor, uncle, son and cousin go outside for a smoke and some air. Dale hangs back for me, but was in the bathroom. Most of the table is cleared. The conversation that followed started with Aunt talking to second wife, but you can get where it was directed. Aunt said, these kids today have no sense of loyalty to their family and just cut people off over petty crap. Second wife said, I agree. Aunt said they have no respect anymore. OP says, you mean like how your sister didn't have respect for my father's marriage? Aunt says, how dare you? OP says, me? You're the ones talking about me like I'm not sitting here. Real rich to talk about family when you broke up a marriage. Second wife says, this is my house and you will respect me. OP says, why would I respect a woman who marries a man who disregards his own children? You're married to a deadbeat father. Second wife says, don't speak about my husband like that. OP says, what self-respecting woman marries a man who doesn't parent his children? Or is it because he claims your kid that you're willing to overlook that part? Second wife said, shut up. OP carried on saying, just because he takes care of your kid doesn't make him any less of a deadbeat. Aunt says, you're taking this too far. OP says, you shouldn't have opened the can of worms. Sperm donor says, OP, that's enough. OP says, must be hard loving a man that will never love you back. Sperm donor and uncle came back in around that point I had called him a deadbeat the first time. Second wife ran off crying after I made the comment about him never loving her. Aunt made me get my things and leave. They all left with me and brought me back to my hotel. While riding to the hotel, we called Chip and told him what happened. I think there is some more that I don't know about going on, and I need to have a conversation with both of them at a better time to find stuff out. Again, sorry for any weird formatting. I'll fix once I get back home and settled. I'm going straight to my parents' place and getting some real food to eat. OP came in this month, December 2024, with what they titled their final update. Finally got to talk to Chip and Dale about what happened at Thanksgiving. At first Chip was disappointed because, and he said, "At your big age I would think you handled yourself better than that." But at the same time, he liked that I stuck up for myself, as they both now know I've not been able to stick up for myself, as sperm donor has been kicking my back in for years. Dale did come to my defense and explain that aunt and second wife started it by talking shit, so I just handled business. I told them when they go low, I go to hell. They both now agree never to piss me off because of this. But at the same time, as y'all have pointed out, some stuff was already broken or cracked, and I just gave it the extra push it needed to crumble. But with the conversation came more information. Second wife is a bitch to everyone, it would seem, having made some snide comments to the boys over the years that have also made them put some distance between them and sperm donor. Comments being, "No, it's just going to be our family," meaning her son, and sperm donor. The boys have tried to ignore her, but she's got in her mind that she won. She wouldn't let sperm donor make room for them to share for when they would come to visit. No matter where he has lived, he's always made sure they had a room in his house. She didn't allow that and made the guest room her space, more like a giant walk-in closet. She claimed it was because they were in college and wouldn't be coming to see him frequently enough that they needed a room as scheduled visitation was no longer a thing, and if they came to see him, it was on them. So she pushed them out, but I'm assuming sperm donor allowed it and chalked it up to just that they're in college, they aren't going to want to come around nearly as much. I think she controls sperm donor to some degree because thinking back to the night we had our fallout, he was texting her. I think it was to prove that he was where he said he was. Which if that's the case, I should add fuel to the fire and tell her, if he's willing to cheat with you, he's willing to cheat on you. Been lurking in these subs long enough to know that. Or would that just be poking the bear? Turns out that Dale's mother and sperm donor knew that he was sperm donors the entire time, but she was already engaged to another man at the time. Sperm donor already had one child and another one on the way and wasn't about to claim a third, so sperm donor convinced her to pin Dale on her fiancé at the time. It got brought up during their divorce that Dale wasn't that guy's son when it came down to custody, and so sperm donor got roped in via courts. God, this crap is messy as fuck. Chip informed us that sperm donor did end up calling him and just sounded a bit defeated, that he complained about second wife leaving to go stay with his sister. Chip asked him if it was true what we told him about the marriage, the things that were said at dinner and my mother. Sperm donor came clean a bit more during the time when Chip and Dale were born. He was a young man and wanted to do his thing. He wasn't ready to be tied down with his family. Chip told him that he was so disappointed in sperm donor that he doesn't want him to be at the wedding anymore, and that it had nothing to do about me anymore. This man has preached loyalty, taking care of your own, being a man and handling your shit, only to not do those things. So sperm donor won't be seeing his son get married. There will be no wedding drama to my knowledge, as they will be getting security just in case. This is probably going to be my last update unless something crazy happens. I'm going back to lurking these subs and getting ready for a wedding and the holidays. Thank you everyone, and have a great rest of the year. Gee bloody whiz, and like you said OP, what an absolute messy situation. What are the positives? And I'm looking for positives within the story because you truly deserve them after all the shit that you've been through. As it seems, it's brought you and your half brothers closer together, and I really hope that relationship does continue because it sounds like it could be a wonderful one for you. If I'm being honest, do I think that's the end of your story at the moment? I don't think so. People like your dad always seem to make the wrong choice time and time again, causing drama wherever they go. So whilst they, disinvited from the wedding and, the security and stuff, they will fuck up somewhere along the line. But at the same time, just distance yourself from that. You've had enough drama to last a lifetime, and you truly just deserve peace, love, and happiness. So with that being said, I really wish you a peaceful, calm holiday ahead of you. And hopefully one day in the future, you'll provide us with an update about how things are a lot better. I hope. Anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.